Man, they didn't even want to wait for the season to end. Good morning. Same show, same time, but totally different topics and obviously different personnel. Welcome into First Take. Molly, Skip, and Stephen A. are off for the rest of the year. Prim Saripapat, Will Kane, Scoop Jackson, Young Misuk here with you. Can you believe it's our last show of the year? How sad is that?
Yeah.
Too bad there's no news.
Wait, she's about to
there's nothing to debate.
She's going to get mad at me right now. And you already have your party voice.
I do. I know. It's my club voice.
She's prepping. Is that what it is?
Good news. Yeah, I got my cough drops. The good news is I'll just be mute for the rest of the show, and that's why you guys are here. So let's begin over in the city of brotherly love, where the love clearly ran out with one game left to go in his third season. The Philadelphia Eagles decided to pull the trigger as they fired head coach Chip Kelly yesterday. Kelly, in his first two seasons were 10-win seasons, but the difference this season was him taking over the GM responsibilities. So his fingerprints were all over this roster. So guys, did the Eagles make the right decision? Will?
Starting with me, no, they did not make the right decision. And you know, it's a funny thing about right and wrong. Right and wrong doesn't care about popularity. Whatever Eagles fans think today, that doesn't make it right or wrong. I don't care how much you wanted Chip Kelly gone. I don't care how unpopular he was.
Why don't you try saying that in the middle of Philadelphia?
Yeah,
I'll say it wherever you want me to say it, I'm not afraid.
You know how Philly fans can be.
I don't care about that popularity, That's the point. I'm going to end up being right. That's the point. Find yourself on the side of right. And I don't think the Eagles found themselves on the side of right in this decision. This is a man who went 10-6, made the playoffs. Went 10-6, just missed the playoffs. And this year, yes, has had a down year. That is essentially one bad year. And how bad does a year have to be to bail on all of that? I think this decision really actually indicts more than just the Eagles. It indicts the NFL, which I think is one of the least innovative industries in America. Every other industry you can point to, you can see outliers and radicals and people that don't fit in say, I'm going to come in and change the way it's done. And I can do that because everybody else is constipated in their thought. Right. And that's the NFL. Nobody has any real radical ideas. Nobody changes the way the game is played. The Wildcat, was a big innovation. And here comes Chip Kelly. And the first time a guy has a really outside-of-the-box idea, he's run out after 2 10-6 seasons. There's a reason why any innovation in football comes from the high school ranks, and particularly from the Texas high school football ranks. It's because they're allowed to have independent thinking. The NFL
always back to Texas with you.
I just got to call it like I see it. The NFL's a cartel. It's 32 organizations controlling the product. No one can innovate in that environment. Watch Baylor versus North Carolina. Right. You saw innovation. You saw Art Briles take a team who made its bones on passing and run for almost 700 yards. Chip Kelly was doing something different. He deserved another year, Scoop, to see if that experiment worked.
I'm not arguing with that, but I think when you get to professional sports and sometimes in college sports, unlike a lot of other things where innovation is accepted, you're in the winning business, and it's a nonstop competition. So when you do things that are innovative, and innovative against the grain and against the ideology of possibly the owner who thinks in the same mindset of 31 other owners in that whatever you want, a consortium, if you want to call it, when you don't win, your immediate thought is change is going to happen. Because, once again, it's still the winning business. Yeah. And not just winning in the concept of W's and L's, winning as far as holding down the fan base and making them believe in you, because that comes with winning, because there's a monetary attachment to that. Once your fans start bailing on you and you're not winning, that affects the bottom line, and the bottom line in winning also is money. So you can't afford to do that. In other industries, I think you can. But in professional sports, you can't. Look, I agree they should have given him another chance, and this is more about Lowry than it is to me about Chip Kelly. But when you asked to come in and say, hey, look, can I relieve you of the duties that you had? Like you said, you were coach 2 years, and then you came in as general manager, you started making these innovative changes, and it's not working. When I say as an owner of the team, can I relieve you of this duty because this is not working, and you quote-unquote balk at it, you set yourself up like, you know what? Then now you're making me look like I like your innovation. It's cool. I went with it for a while, but it's not winning. I'm making a change.
Well, the short-term
thinking. He won for a while.
The question here is, first of all, with Baylor, that was good coaching, but did we also see bad defense from North Carolina? That's a whole nother subject. But on this one here, in an ideal world, yes, you would like to see Chip Kelly get another year. He should have proved it with those first 2 years, but you have to consider the circumstances here. We've heard rumblings now out of Philadelphia that there was disharmony in the locker room. The players weren't really seeing eye to eye with Chip Kelly. That is a major problem. Was there a power struggle there going on? He obviously wanted to control personnel. He made some moves. They didn't work out. There seems to have been a power struggle in Philadelphia, according to reports. And also, you know, when you have something going on like that in a city like Philadelphia where the media pressure is enormous, the fans do have a say there. They want to win. They can come down hard and they can affect, I believe, decision-making from ownership. It almost seems like a perfect storm. And then the last part, and the most important part, did Chip Kelly want to be in Philadelphia? Because there were other reports that said that, you know, they said, oh, moving forward, we're going to take away personnel from you. And he said, well, I still want to do that. If he didn't want to be there, then none of this really matters.
Right. But he knew from the beginning if it didn't work out immediately. We talked on this show last year when he started making those decisions. Look, you know the drastic decisions that you're making. If it doesn't pan out immediately, you're going to be on the hook. He knew that going in. So you can't be mad. I agree with you, but you can't be mad at something like this happening. Because you have to win. If that's the bottom line. You have to win when you get this
4-11 right now is not going to cut it. I mean, someone could argue that the 10-6 seasons were kind of a result of some of Andy Reid's personnel for the first 2 seasons. I mean,
well, they could argue that, and I would call them short-term thinkers. 2 10-6 seasons, I don't think, are holdovers from Andy Reid. Let me reject one argument and accept one premise. Rejecting the argument that the fans and popularity should be driving a decision. If that's the case, don't hire a GM, barely hire a coach, put a poll up on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and run your organization that way.
You know, it's not that simple when it comes to owners. They obviously care what their fan base
Once again, right and wrong are over here. Popularity is over here. They never, if they overlap, it's by sheer coincidence. One has no impact on the other.
You talk like James Dolan. If you were like James Dolan and you don't care what the fans think with the New York Knicks, well, then you see what
Remember, I
happens
said right and wrong. James Dolan's just wrong. He doesn't get right, okay? You can be right and unpopular and wrong and popular. But to your premise about winning, 2 10-6 seasons, one playoff appearance. And by the way, some moments where the NFL was genuinely confused about what to do with that offense. He had defensive coordinators. You mentioned Texas. I don't say this stuff willingly. I don't want to say this stuff about the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a Cowboys fan. There were times when you feared that Eagles offense.
Right.
And just one last point that I think we don't give enough attention to. We constantly say, so-and-so, whatever coach, whatever team needs a quarterback. We provide caveats for this organization or that organization because they're trying to win with a subpar quarterback. Those 10-6 seasons, Chip Kelly has been running out there. Nick Foles, Mark Sanchez, an old Michael Vick, and Sam Bradford. Does anyone here think those are quarterbacks that add up to 2 10-6 seasons?
Oh, you know what? You're exactly.
He did this with below average quarterback.
You mentioned those names, but also let's go to Jeremy Maclin. Let's go to DeMarcus,
Deshaun
Jackson, and LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
They were there also. So the quarterback situation was covered by you had playmakers on 2 ends of the field, and when you get rid of them because you're being innovative, you can't afford to lose. You have to have a 10-6 season when you start making those drastic changes. The quarterback position in this situation was marginal because he had players and making plays at other positions.
And he got rid of them.
And he got rid of them this year. And if you're an owner, you start drawing lines. Your narrative doesn't become innovation. It becomes, why aren't we 10-6 anymore? Oh, boom, boom, boom. These players aren't here. Damn who the quarterback is.
Right. And then
now here's the change. And it's something you did.
Then you add on all the things that have been coming out. Are the players upset with Chip Kelly? Do they not want to play hard for him? We saw on Thanksgiving when they just got destroyed by the Lions, right?
Yes.
It looked like they didn't want to play for him at all.
At home.
And then on top of that, you're coming off a game where you just lose the division. You're in it. You lose it to the Washington Redskins at home. That doesn't look good. It just seems like everything was the perfect storm coming together, and then Philadelphia decided to make a change, and it looked like Chip lost out.
I really think the nail in the coffin was bringing over DeMarco Murray from the Dallas Cowboys, and here he is. He's a leading rusher, a guy that averages 4.5 yards per carry, and you can't even get this guy more than 2 carries.
And DeMarco Murray, the one you bring in to replace LaShawn McCoy, is the one that placed the knife in your back. He's the one that went to Jeffrey Lurie on that plane.
But don't you think the creativity and innovation that he tries to employ, at a certain point, the responsibility has to go to him because he's not using him correctly, because LaShawn McCoy was an East Coast, East-West type of runner as opposed to Murray, who's a North-South kind of guy.
I like to be precise. Now, you're not going to box me into a position that I did not have. Now, the position I did not take today is that Chip Kelly is perfect, that he never makes a wrong decision. Never once did I argue that. The argument that I'm making is that he deserved another year, that because he was innovative, he was given a short leash, that he's being judged on a short term of a few months in the back end of 2015. Yes, the DeMarco Murray decision looks horrendous. I wish he was still with the Cowboys. Yes. Many of these decisions, the Bradford trade, quite honestly, doesn't let me.
That doesn't look good either.
Who should have gotten the draft picks? The Rams or the Eagles to balance out that trade? This isn't a complete defense of Chip Kelly and every decision he's made. It's a defense, or rather an indictment of the decision to move on at this juncture. This man, maybe after next year, Scoop, maybe after next year, then you make the decision. But I think we need to see one more year to see if this innovation is real.
Let me just ask you one thing, Will. If you're the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles and one of your star players, the guy that you spent the most money on to go get, tells you he doesn't like what Chip's doing, he's not playing me, and who knows what else is going on if other players are telling you the same thing, do you feel like you have to make a move, or are you going to say, I'm going to stick with him for one more year?
Well, you phrased it first with my star player and then with multiple players. If it's a player versus a coach, I would say 90% of the time I'm on the coach's side. The greater investment is on the coach's side. Right. He's managing many men, not one man. So one player's opinion will not change my mind. If you have a mutiny on your hands, and I think we should probably get to that at some point, if you have a total loss of the team, you have changed the calculus. If that is what happened in
it might not even just be players, it could be also other people in management there too, because there seems to be a power struggle as well. All these factors working against Chip.
And I think there's one intangible we need to get to, and it goes back to what I think both of you all are saying, it's kind of missed on all three of our parts, is the humility. And I think that from an outside source looking in, there didn't seem to be that much humility in Chip Kelly in what he was doing. He stood strong and convicted on what he was doing. And I think when you're not successful in that and ownership wants change and you still don't accept that change, what else are you supposed to do? It's like, look, I still want to coach this team. I coached this team for 2 years to 10-6 records. We tried something, it didn't work, it's not working. So yeah, let me step back and just go back to coach this team. When you don't take that attitude, the thing that gets you out of there is your lack of humility or understanding the situation from the owner's standpoint.
And to top that off, it's also the stubbornness. There was a little bit of stubbornness about him in terms of how he ran the team and also how he ran his strategy. That's why the New England Patriots are so good, because it's all about matchups, and they tweak their offense to cater to their personnel, and they have so much depth. I mean,
and when you come across like it's all about me and you're talking to somebody who's paid the money to own this, no, it's all about me because this is my money.
Right.
All right. Well, like I said earlier, his first 2 seasons were 10-win seasons with 1 trip to the playoffs. Now, heading into this season, according to ESPN's Football Power Index, the Eagles had a 74% chance of making the playoffs, 5th best odds in the NFL. That's really high, but that's not going to happen. So the question I want to ask is, what doomed Chip Kelly in Philly? Scoop?
It's an extension of what I just got through saying. I think when he was presented that situation with Laurie and they had that discussion and they're using the word balked came up, I think that's what sealed his fate. So to me, I really do think it's like, look, you know what? I don't have a problem with you running this team. You did a good job, but I'm taking the reins as far as player and personnel away from you. And for you to balk at that, looking at what your record is, I think that was like, you know what, it's over, it's done.
Let me build upon that. So essentially what you've said, Scoop, is the lack of humility and his personality, or what might have led to that rug being pulled out at this
point. And being done, and also I read into that because it was done, from what I understand, by a letter. It wasn't done face to face. That Laurie sent a letter out, and it wasn't like, hey, you know what, it's done. So that all to me reads into, you know what, I'm really through with you. You don't get what, it's almost like a power situation. Like who's running this, me or you? And it's mine, and I'm running it.
So stubbornness and a lack of humility, those things aren't mutually exclusive from greatness or genius. Travel up the road to New England, and you'll find those same qualities. But you're on to something. And you're on beyond the winning, though, Scoop. What I would say is you're on to something, and it's going to seem like I'm contradicting myself now because I think he should have gotten another year. But what I think ultimately doomed him is not necessarily his abilities as a player personnel, not necessarily his abilities as a coach, but his abilities as a leader. And that is essential to being a head coach. What kind of leader are you? And a constant debate in leadership is compromise versus standing on your principles. When do I compromise? When do I let go? And from everything we've seemed to have read, Chip Kelly couldn't compromise from what he believed in. When he drafted or recruited players, he had specific measurables. Defensive linemen had to have a certain length of arm. Cornerbacks had to be a certain height. And that's great. But you got to be able to adapt and deviate from what you consider principles. When he didn't like a guy or didn't think a guy fit in, the guy was gone. McCoy, Jackson, even if he was a great player. And when a player didn't show up because he didn't like his contract, like Evan Thomas, the guard, Chip said, you're gone then. There was no negotiation. There was no hardball. It was like, you're not an Eagle anymore. These were non-compromise situations for Chip. And what I would suggest is not that Chip needed to compromise, but adapt to reality. Don't find yourself like General Custer. Don't charge into the valley knowing certain defeat
so
when
in other
you
words,
are completely
be less stubborn
outnumbered.
And be a little bit more flexible?
Yes, not because you need to look at it as a compromise to your principles, but because you need to realize this is a way to adapt to the reality that's around you. And I do think if Chip were a better leader, he would still be the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he would have earned that extra year. From my position looking outward in, I still would like to see if he could become that leader. Because, by the way, leadership can be learned. It is not necessarily innate.
Without question.
Leadership can be learned. And his players were a subtraction, not addition right now. He got rid of McCoy. He got rid of Jackson. He didn't do that much adding, Bradford, Murray. But he needed to see more players. I want to know who the Chip guys. I asked you this morning. I want to see him add Chip guys. Name me a Chip guy.
He added 11 Oregon players. How much more could you add? He has more Oregon players than anybody else. He brought Nick Foles. He brought Kiko Alonso. He brought DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles. I mean, the list goes on.
And he did it all in the last year. I just think another year of adding players who you think are in your system that you can lead was deserved.
Here's the thing. I mean, he had one of the most talented rosters in the National Football League. This is a team that had the best offense during the preseason. They averaged 38 points per game. And then look what happened during the regular season. I mean, in my eyes, it's all about making it work, especially with what you had. He had a lot of talent on that roster.
I just think in the ideal world, you would give him more time to run personnel because he didn't do it for very long, right? The problem is here, like I spoke to one longtime NFL agent who said Chip Kelly's reputation, whether it's accurate or not, and what everybody says in the NFL world is that he just doesn't like players. He doesn't get along with players. If he has a problem with the player is out. That works if you're Bill Belichick and you got all these rings on your fingers.
Point. Yep.
It does not work if you're just getting into the NFL and you're trying to implement this whole new brand of football, which was exciting for the first couple years, and all of a sudden you're shipping out serious talent, and it looks like you're not getting along with these guys, or the minute somebody has beef with you, this guy is gone. DeMarco Murray, I get it, goes to the owner, tries to backstab you, yeah, you bench him, totally understand that. But if you're not winning and you're not getting the results, on top of that, you're acting perhaps like my way or the highway, and that's the only way it's going to work. Yeah. And then you're having these losses and you're having disharmony in the locker room. Players don't be seeing eye to eye. Like I said, everything, it's a cumulative effect. It all comes down to what happened.
Yeah, I think, my way or the highway. I mean, there's a lot of coaches in the NFL that definitely have that mantra, but you better be able to back it up. And I'll go back to the New England Patriots again. I mean, Bill Belichick is definitely a genius when it comes to strategy and philosophy, and he's able to back it up, and he's able to develop his players. Chip Kelly, I mean,
but people in Cleveland didn't feel that way at first either. People in Cleveland felt the same way about Bill Belichick that the Eagles feel about Chip Kelly.
But I think he also learned, and he grew from that. We'll see if Chip Kelly can grow from this.
Also, let's keep in mind where it is at. I think if we were at another team that didn't have the pressure to win or have the status of a Philadelphia Eagles, he may have gotten that extra year. Seriously,
so?
I think so. I think if you're let's say let's pick a team.
How about the New York Football Giants?
I don't think there. I'm going to say if he's in a Tennessee or say he's in a maybe it depends on Cleveland, but maybe a Cleveland or maybe a San Diego or someplace where they're like, look, where they're doing a total restructuring and the pressure is on them not to win. I think he may have gotten that extra season, but in this situation in Philly, I don't. Nah.
The amazing thing is if he had just beaten Washington and was still in the running for the division, This wouldn't happen.
Yeah,
And the division's down this season, but I still think even with that, if the owner calls you in the office and you have an issue with him, with your record at the time, on him, like, not firing you, but saying, can we make a change in here? And if you like, nah, I'm not feeling that, like, yo, you got to go.
So, Will, you would have given him one more season, head coach and as GM. You would have kept both roles imprinted on him for one more season.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I disagree with both these guys. I think this happens anywhere, not just Philadelphia. I don't think Philadelphia has some higher bar. I don't think Philadelphia's been to many Super Bowls. I don't think Philadelphia has an incredible winning tradition. They may think they do, but they don't.
But if they
so
think
I don't
they do,
think Philadelphia is some special case. And I don't think winning actually would have solved it, I think if you beat the Redskins, if what we're hearing is right, that it's a leadership problem, then winning one more game
won the division?
wouldn't have fixed this. Winning a division at 8-7 or 8-8 wouldn't have fixed this. This sounds deeper than that.
Yeah.
I was pretty shocked. I don't know about you guys. I was pretty shocked that they didn't let the regular season play out. I mean, they did it before the season ended. Were you guys shocked at all? I mean, well, we were sitting here yesterday and we were all saying, like, yeah, he's probably going to come back after the season.
Exactly. Well, I didn't know about, once again, to me, I didn't know about the meeting that he had with Laurie and they had that discussion. I would have thought the season would have played itself out. And to your point, I think he would, if he had won that game, then he probably would have lasted until Black Monday.
And then they would have made a decision.
Yeah, right.
You know, one NFL person told me that, listen, the Eagles probably did this right away. Obviously, there were circumstances that happened, but this gets them out in front. And as Sal Powell said earlier today on one of the shows, and I respect Sal Powell, you know, so much, he basically said, look, the Eagles now get out in front and they get to look at some of the the most highly regarded assistants in the NFL for their next coach. And they have to get out in front. Also, you get a look at Pat Shurmur, see what he can do in that final game, and then consider everything else. They're just trying to move on as quickly as possible.
All right, well, let's end it at that. Let's keep it in the NFC East, though. After nearly